I guess we're pretty much set.
When they could do that.
Please, Mom.
Let's get these things on.
It's got a haircut.
Ron? Dennis, you have your green light
I'm all
showing?
set. Yep.
Being the hour of 7:02, we'll open the Selectmen's Meeting of July 23rd, 2013. I'll just review what's on the agenda this evening. We have a citation presentation at 7. At 7:05, we have Alan Hammond, co-chairman of the Tricentennial Committee. Then after that, we have the continuation of a dog complaint hearing, vicious dog. And at 7:30, the Cable Advisory Committee. And then Selectmen's request and Town Manager's report. With that being said, I'd like to call the Town Clerk forward, please.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Good
Maureen.
evening.
Thank you for having us in tonight.
Our pleasure.
Do you want to have Teresa come forward?
Yep. Could I ask Teresa to come forward, please? Have a seat. It isn't too often that we at the Selectmen's Meeting have positive agenda items. This particular agenda item is a pleasant one. It's a positive one for the community and a positive one for you and your family. And with that being said, I would like to ask if the town clerk has anything to add this evening before I make a presentation.
Very quickly, because I know you have a lot of information in your citation. I don't know where you got it from. But I do need to say that, you know, for the past 48, almost 9 years, Teresa has served the town as an election worker for 35 years, 27 as the warden in Precinct 2, and she ruled with an iron fist. And then the last 14 years, because we didn't want her to get bored when she stopped working the polls, she's been a registrar, most of the time serving as the chairperson. And we've been through some grueling recounts and very heavy activity election years. And she's been there all along for us. It's been a pleasure to have her serve. And if I may, not to take away from your citation, but hot off the press, and Teresa's last as the chairperson is the 300th anniversary list of residents.
That's nice.
We did a special cover this year, and she's the first one to receive it.
Very nice.
Oh, that is nice.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to read the citation. Presented to Teresa M. Laramie, whereas upon Teresa's retirement, we wish to recognize her for 48 years of service to the residents of Oxford as an election worker from 1964 to 1999. And whereas, since 1999, Teresa has served as registrar, most of those years as chairman. And whereas Teresa was born and still lives at her home on Leicester Street with her husband, she ran her own tax business for over 50 years, and her husband, known as Joe the Barber, ran his business for 40 years. This year, Teresa and Joe will be celebrating their 67th wedding anniversary. And whereas Teresa and Joe have 7 children, 19 grandchildren, and 18 great-grandchildren, they both love to spend summers at the camp, which they have been enjoying for many, many years. And whereas Teresa has been a tireless, dedicated worker for the residents of Oxford, and whereas we thank Teresa for her service to our community for so many years as an election worker and registrar. Therefore, be it resolved that we, the selectmen of the town of Oxford, as well as the town manager and the town clerk, wish to join with Teresa's family, friends, and the citizens of Oxford to express our thanks, given under our hands this 9th day of July, 2013. Signed, John G. Sad, Chairman, Dennis Lamache, Vice Chairman, Michael Vos, Secretary, Alan Berthium, Jared Mahota, Selectman, Joseph M. Zaneski, Town Manager, and Laurie A. Kelly, town clerk. Congratulations.
Go get your award.
gonna miss
Go
you
get
guys.
your award. You want to get it from him? I'll put this back in here.
Yeah, that is nice.
Isn't that beautiful?
I appreciate
We're
that.
not gonna let you walk up there. This is the first time that this has happened. But you deserve it, Teresa.
Thank you,
For
John.
many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here you go, Teresa.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
It's been fun, guys.
Leaving already?
But yeah, we have plans. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Lucky we all didn't come.
We'd have to use the auditorium.
We didn't bring the grandbabies. I did see us okay.
Okay, let's start taking the stairs here.
The young one.
All right. The next item on the agenda, Mr. Hammond.
Mr. Chairman, those that know me well know that I do not particularly like public speaking, and I'm reluctant to do it except for when the need really arises. But tonight, I'm not reluctant to appear before you because words cannot appropriately express what I'm feeling right now. First of all, I would like to thank this board and the preceding Board of Selectmen for appointing our committee and having the confidence in us to support our endeavors. I hope we have lived up to all of your expectations. By most accounts, Oxford's 300th anniversary celebration was a tremendous success, but a celebration of this magnitude would not have taken place without the hard work and dedication of some very special individuals. And because of the request I put on them personally, I owe them a great deal of thanks for their efforts. First of all, thank you, Michael Bose, for agreeing to co-chair this committee with me and for doing an amazing job with the vendors, laying out the celebration area, the golf tournaments, and so much more, including putting up with me and my last-minute ideas. Thank you, Deb LaMarche, for agreeing to coordinate both our parades. The celebration kickoff parade a year ago was terrific, and I didn't think that it could be better. I wasn't sure. And yet Deb and her small group went out and delivered a parade that will be remembered for many years to come. It's an amazing job done by Dennis and Deborah LaMarche and company. Thank you. Thank you, Jane Banya, for serving as our corporate sponsor liaison and generating significant sponsorships to help fund our celebration. And of course, a hearty thanks to our many sponsors. Without your funding, many of the free entertainment and activities would not have taken place. Thank you to Meg McIlvain, my girl Friday, for making the mistake of telling me to let you know if there was anything you could do, and in coordinating everything I threw at you, like all the kid activities, pie eating contests, water balloon toss, woodworking project, booth, etc. The list goes on. Thank you to Paula Parker, my woman Friday. When I was young, my mother told me, if you need something done, ask a busy person. And I did. I sometimes felt a bit guilty for asking Paula to do all the errands that she did when needed to be done, and then asking her to also organize the craft fair and the car show for the celebration, in addition to all her other volunteer work. But it not only got done, it got done very well. Thank you to Susan Gustafson, our committee treasurer, tracking all the orders, making sure all the vendors, entertainers, etc. were not only paid or paid us, but had all the paperwork done properly in a timely manner and being the financial go-to person with the town. This was an effort that I'm not sure we could have pulled off without you. Thank you, Gene O'Reilly, for making us focus on the historical portion of our celebration, too. Your efforts kept us connected with the leaders of the community, the churches, and many others. Thank you to Rebecca Gaddis and Tina Weldon for being our clerk secretaries so that we could record for history and the town our record of our meetings and our votes. I could go on to thank everyone on the committee individually, our entertainment committee members and the members that helped with fundraisers, but there are too many things to say and too many people to mention that I would definitely miss some. So whether you were a committee person, a member, associate, past or present, remember, without you, this celebration would not have taken place. I do need to send special thanks to Justin O'Halloran of Bass DJ Service and his crew for the great job coordinating the entertainment on both stages and running the adult musical chairs and kids musical chairs too. Also thanks to Access Oxford Inc. for their terrific coverage of the celebration so that we could have it recorded for all the history. Plus, I've had numerous compliments on how well the live stream was received, and I'm pleased to announce that Charter Communications will soon be broadcasting our parade on demand, and we'll post details about that on our website and Facebook once we receive that. Another round of sincere thanks needs to be directed at the town hall employees that helped with the souvenir sales, they fielded the phone calls, and worked on getting us the right forms for the right people, and for working with us. I especially want to express our gratitude to the public service workers, police, fire, EMS, DPW. Your professionalism is second to none, and we are grateful for all that you have done for us. And also to the school department for letting us use their grounds and arranging the shuttle service, a godsend. So thank you all for a job well done, for your service and your dedication. And while we may have a few housekeeping items that still must be done, I wish to publicly state that it has been an honor and a privilege to work with you. I must also thank my wife and my family for putting up with the missed dinners, the boxes of scattered stuff throughout the house, interrupted family events and phone calls, and putting off family projects, and putting up with my erratic schedule, and just about everything. They were great about it. Finally, thank you to the residents of Oxford, their friends, their family, their neighbors, their guests, for coming to our celebration. A celebration of this significance comes once in a lifetime, and thanks to all of you, we did it right. Thank you.
I'm sure that members of the board all have comments that they would like to make. I would like to begin by thanking you directly, Alan, you and your co-chairman, Mike Vos, and your committee for the outstanding job that you both have done. I had the privilege of being around all weekend while you guys were preparing. I got to have a little ride on your new little electric vehicles as you went up and down Main Street, making sure that everything was in order for the event. And I saw you both in action, and I saw you both make decisions that had to be made. And sometimes you make decisions and you don't please everybody, but somebody has to take that role and make that decision. And you both did it with honor, with dignity, and it paid off because it was probably one of the best events that this town has had in the past 100 years. So I can't thank you all enough. The parade was outstanding. I don't know how Deb and Dennis did it, but boy, they pulled that one off. It just moved right along. There was no gaps. Everybody was where they were supposed to be. I was given, as the MC, I was given a list of program of where everybody was, and that was a godsend. It made life easier for me, and it made life easier for the people that had to listen to me because they could see what was coming, and there was a little background about every float or marching group that went by. So, I just want to tell you, you're not going to please everybody when you do a job like this. There's always naysayers out there. But you know what? Thank God that the majority of the people understand and appreciate what people like yourselves do to make Oxford a better place in which to live. Thanks again. Dennis?
Thank you. Well, I have to say ditto. But I can't say enough to Alan, Mike, you guys, your whole committee. I could sit here, go on, but I'm not gonna. I've said it to the people that did the work. It's until you get involved in an affair like this, you have no idea of the amount of work, planning, heartache, just frustration that goes into what you guys pulled off. It was phenomenal. It was a great weekend. You did a great job, and as a community member, it gives me appreciation to what, like John said, and his committees have done for years and years with their Founders Day, because it's a lot of work. So many people have said to me, "Oh, we should have more of this." Well, yeah, if you want to step up to that plate and do that work, bring it on, because you have no clue until you're involved with it. And I see a lot of shaking heads because those are the people that were involved. And it's a lot of work. And Mike, Alan, Sue, Paula, I can't thank you enough for what you helped us with. So it's just great to have a community of people that got together for 4 years, 4 years, 4 years, excuse me, I'm being corrected. And the work that you guys, is great. My hat's off to you, and I can't say thank you enough. It was a great celebration, and we thank you as a board, and I thank you personally. Thank you. That's all I have.
Michael?
Well, it was a good time most of the time. We had a great committee. I can't thank all of you guys enough. I mean, it was a real pleasure working with you. It was a real pleasure working with all the groups in the town of Oxford, all the nonprofits. I think the best thing for all of us was all the people we met. I met so many people in town that I never knew before, and I really gained a huge appreciation for the volunteers we have in town, whether it be the volunteers that come from the high school or the church groups or the clubs, the American Legions, the VFWs. What we seen this weekend was a true community event. We had the public sector, all town employees, the elected officials coming together. We had the private sector with all of our businesses we have in town, the unbelievable support we had throughout. We had our volunteers and our church groups, and it was a real hometown community event. And looking back, it was even looking forward and going into it, I didn't realize what it meant to me, but as I progressed through the process and got to meet all these people, that experience I gained it definitely outweighed the work that we put in. I just want to thank everyone in town, our group, the volunteers, everyone in the community, and like Dennis said, maybe we can have another event someday, and we can all come together and do something like this again. And I just want to thank the people from Oxford. It was a true honor serving on the committee. That's all I got. Thank you.
Alan?
We were there Saturday, me and my 2 older daughters. We had a great time. But like all the people that Mike was saying, it takes people to run the things and be able to delegate. And I can see that you two did a really fantastic job of doing that.
Jared?
Yeah, again, I'd like to thank everybody. Everybody did a lot of hard work. Huge success. Everybody from young kids to older generations, such a large gap. Everybody came together. I think that was the biggest thing that I'd like to comment on is how many people came together and just everything went smoothly. Everybody got along. I was seeing friends that I haven't seen in years from, they grew up with them in elementary school, and then they just kind of moved away, but then they all came back for the celebration. They didn't live in town anymore, but they still were there. Seen a lot of people I knew from out of town that don't live in town, and it was good. Even, other communities came in to join us, and huge success. And I would love to see something like that again, and I would love to get involved with it. So again, thank you.
Okay. Thanks again, committee, for all your hard work.
Thank
Great
you,
job.
guys. Now you can rest. No, you can't rest. You can't rest, Susan. You gotta balance the books.
We built a couple housekeeping items.
Since you're already in place, are you gonna do this again next year?
People leave that place for younger, more interested in getting experience, Pauline.
305.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a continuation of the public hearing, a dog complaint. Ask the dog officer to come forward, please. Okay, you have an additional complaint. I would like to have you present that so that it can be matter of record.
Okay, I just received information today that there was a man named George Cassavant that I believe he stopped down to the town manager's office to complain about getting bitten by the dog at 8 Patton Street, Cooper. He said that he went to 4 o'clock mass at St. Roch's Church, and then he went to the VFW afterwards. And he pulled into the parking lot, and he saw the dog and a couple of other chihuahuas being taken out, I don't know. And he went to get out of his car, and he didn't even see the dog coming, it just attacked him. And he said that it grabbed his arm, and it went through his winter coat, and just broke the skin. And he said that that was sometime, he couldn't remember the exact date, but he believed that it was sometime in March of this year, because he had his winter coat on.
Okay. So he did not give a specific date.
He didn't give a specific date, and like I said, he just came forward. We didn't know anything about this.
Okay, I'm assuming that he came forward because he either read of the complaint
Or he saw it on
or
TV.
saw it on TV
Yeah.
and wanted to complain. Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to ask the owner if he's aware of it.
No, I do not know him by the name Cosman.
Would you mind coming?
George is a friend of my mother's.
Yeah, would you mind coming forward because we can't hear you on the mic?
No, I never knew he bit George Casavant.
Okay.
I really have no idea. I know George is a friend of my mother's, and I'm sure if he had bit him, it would have got back to me by now.
Okay.
He said that you were there.
I was there, but he didn't bite him. He never got bit.
Okay, so you were both at the place in question when the dog, in fact, was there?
Yes.
When George Casavant was there?
Yes.
Okay. All right. It's unfortunate that Mr. Casavant didn't come in sooner, but this has to be a part of the record. The board has already deemed the dog a dangerous dog. We said that. It's unanimous on the board's part. And unfortunately, if Mr. Casavant is in favor of having the dog put down, it's unfortunate that he wasn't here earlier to speak on this, because the board has already taken a vote at the beginning of the hearing that we were not going to put the dog down. We decided instead to put conditions on the owner and the dog, and I guess we have to live by that vote unless the board wishes to rescind that vote, and I'm going to ask the board what their wishes are. I want a motion either to keep the motion that was made at the last hearing, or to change the motion.
I'm going to stick with the motion we made at the last meeting. That's what I'd like to do.
Okay, would
So
you
I'll
put-
make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second to that motion?
For discussion?
Yes. It's been seconded for discussion. Discussion is open. Mr. Vos?
This last incident was in March. Alleged last incident was in March, and it was in the VFW parking lot.
Yes.
And we had one other incident with Mrs. Pavoni, is that
Peggy
correct?
Pavoni, yes.
Which happened, I want to say it was in South Oxford somewhere. And it seems like there could be an additional problem with your dog as far as you taking your dog
I
places.
don't take him anywhere anymore.
You don't take
He's
him
home.
anywhere anymore?
Got the kennel, I got the yard fenced in. Unless it's a vet visit. Brought him to the vet last weekend.
Because what we asked you to do, put the fence in, that is effective when your dog is at home. When your dog is not at home, when you're driving around town with your dog, you're taking, I know dogs like to drive around, you take them for a ride once in a while, but you really
He doesn't go anymore.
You really can't take this dog anywhere from the way it sounds to
No,
me.
he doesn't.
That's all I have.
Okay, any other discussion? Yes, Mr. Berthium?
Is that good for you? You love your dog,
Yes.
but is that fair for him, having to stay in a coop all the time?
He's in the yard, he's with us all the time. He lost his right to go for the rides. And he's already lost that even before I came to this last meeting.
Jared?
I would never want to see a dog put down, but I mean, as far as you owning the dog, your benefits and quality of having that pet is severely decreased because you can't enjoy taking him out for walks. You know, my understanding of the law is that he is supposed to be confined to that kennel, which is has the roof. It's enclosed, so the only time he can be outside is in that kennel, and then any other time if he has to go to the vet, he has to wear a muzzle.
I can't bring him for a walk with a muzzle,
I wouldn't
go to the bathroom.
You have to have him on a leash.
Yeah, I gotta stay on
Right,
a leash.
right.
Chain link.
Right. By the law, it has to be muzzled and
And
on a
on-
leash,
On a
Specific
tethered leash.
tethered leash.
Under 4 feet.
Yeah,
Under
Right.
3 feet, I believe.
3 feet.
but
Not
we need to
exceeding
check.
3 with the tensile strength of 300 pounds.
Yes, it's a 3-foot leash.
Yeah. It's very specific in the law.
Okay, is there any other discussion on that motion? Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, so it's 4 in the affirmative, so we are sticking with our original motion not to put the dog down. With that being said, I am going to entertain a motion, and that motion's going to include what I put on the floor the last time as a motion, but it did not get voted on because the board had additional information that they wanted included in the motion. So I've added that to the motion, and I'm going to read the motion. The board should have gotten a copy of my motion to review, so I'm assuming that the motion is in order. So I'm going to read the motion after I entertain it. I will entertain a motion that we deem the dog Cooper of 8 Patton Street a dangerous dog, and I will read what will be in that motion right now. Motion to deem the dog Cooper to be dangerous and that the owner, Quentin Burnett, strictly adhere to Chapter 140, Section 157C, subsections I, II, and III, which states as follows. I, that the dog be humanely restrained, provided, however, that no order shall provide that a dog deemed dangerous be chained, tethered, or otherwise tied to an inanimate object, including but not limited to a tree, post, or building. II, that the dog be confined to the premises of the keeper, the dog provided, however, that confined shall mean securely confined indoors or confined outdoors in a securely enclosed and locked pen or dog run area upon the premises of the owner or keeper, provided further that such pen or dog run shall have a secure roof, and if such enclosure has no floor, secured to the sides thereof, the sides shall be embedded into the ground for not less than 2 feet, and provided further that within the confines of such pen or dog run, a dog house or proper shelter from the elements shall be provided to protect the dog. Under 3, that when removed from the premises, bear with me because I'm on the computer here. That when removed from the premises of the owner or the premises of the person keeping the dog shall be securely and humanely muzzled and restrained with a chain or other tethered device having a minimum tensile strength of 300 pounds and not exceed 3 feet in length. In addition, the board orders the use of the existing pen in the backyard to be updated according to the stipulations set forth in the law and by Animal Control Officer Flynn. In addition to training for the dog and the owner, which shall be confirmed via a written document from the institution or qualified person providing the training.
You missed the part.
Orders the erection of the fence.
The front.
Okay, in addition, the board orders the erection of a fence to be used as a buffer around the front entrance of the home.
Yeah, and then the use of the existing.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion.
And I'll second it for
It's
discussion.
been seconded for discussion. Discussion?
Do we have any time that he has to do the training? You know, because without a time limit, you could say a year or a month. Well, what is the time limit? Are we,
I'll yield to the dog officer. What's a reasonable time frame?
That he should start it probably immediately, but I don't know how long it's gonna be up to the trainer to determine, you know, how long it takes them to do what they have to do.
Okay. Would 90 days
Yeah, I
be
think something like 90 days would be reasonable.
to get it finished or to start it?
the training?
To finish the training?
To begin the training?
To complete the training?
Well, I mean, I don't know how you can put a time limit on that. It could be a month, could be 3 months, could be 6 months. I mean, every dog is gonna be
Right.
different.
And every-
Until it's adequately trained, I would say start it within a month, and the dog needs to be adequately trained. If you say 90 days, he go to training for, one day a week for 90 days, and then the gentleman who's training him could say, this dog has not been trained properly. And I think we kind of need that to be very specific
Well,
as to.
we're asking for it to be confirmed via a written document from the institution or qualified person.
That they've begun.
Yeah.
Yes.
That they've begun. Okay, well, I heard.
That's
It's been
completed.
finished.
That it's been finished, completed.
In 90 days?
No.
No, we didn't put the
Okay.
date in there.
Okay,
It's been left open-ended,
okay.
but
So start the training within 2 weeks or a month?
we can start the training.
Month, because I just spent
Within a month.
$1,000 in the last 2 weeks. I put the whole fence, rebuilt the kennel, strapped right now, but I will make the appointment with the trainer.
Okay, so within 1 month, you will begin the training.
I will begin the training.
Is that acceptable to the board?
That's acceptable.
Okay, that will be included as part of the motion. If there's no further discussion,
And just-
Yes, go
I have
ahead.
Some discussion.
Yep.
Mr. Burnett, I'm sure you realize that this is probably the last time you'll come before this board, that your dog will be able to,
Oh, I know.
continue on. If you come before us again, it's gonna be a sad occasion, because this board is
No,
not
if it
gonna.
happens again, I'll have them put down before I have to come here.
We're not gonna have.
again.
I hope you can appreciate the fact that the board has shown some leniency here, and has, in a way, has put themselves out there for, we're relying on you, we're trusting you to do everything within your power to keep your dog away from
And I have.
others. And you have.
The last week, 2 weeks during heat wave, I built this fence single-handedly.
And
It's not
I
easy,
can
but I-
appreciate, but that's just one part of it. We realize that, taking your dog out, walking your dog, it's gotta be, I don't wanna see you again. I really don't. I mean, it's gonna be a sad day, so please, just, I'm sure you realize, what's at stake here.
any other yes?
We haven't really mentioned about how long we want to give him to become compliance with our stipulation about the, we have pictures from Kelly about his present confined area or kennel area. it doesn't have a floor, it doesn't have a roof. Do we want to put a stipulation on that maybe for like, again, in 2 months, something like
Yeah,
that?
I'll have it finished
No.
before 2 months. I'm a carpenter, I can build them a house in a day. And the roof, I just gotta get a little more money, get some more materials.
But you also have to do something, by the looks of it, that chained area around it is not 2 feet under, and
I showed her, I've already made the forms. I have forms set all the way around it for concrete.
Oh, okay, okay. So you'll have some sort of a dog shelter and a roof
Yes.
over there, okay.
Can you give us a time frame on
Yeah,
when you
that's,
feel that you will meet the requirement as
I'd say a
stipulated?
month, I can have the floor down and the doghouse and the roof on it.
so we could put that into the motion that we'll have within a month, have the kennel area up to code, and within a month, you'll start training.
Yes.
And the
Okay.
dog officer will be making periodic inspections and keeping the board informed. And if you don't meet the requirements, then you can expect that the board would have to take further action.
I'll meet them.
Okay.
One more thing,
Yep.
Chair. Now, I don't know how the training goes. If it's once a week, or twice a week, do you know how the training is?
That would probably go according to what he can afford and how often the trainer is available. I mean,
I'd say he can do it once a month, that really wouldn't help.
I think the dog needs more than that at this
Yes,
point.
Yeah.
maybe once a week, twice a week, I have no idea.
I'm gonna talk to a trainer. I've never talked to a trainer. I'll get his opinion.
Do you have his phone number? Do you have his name?
I'm gonna have to find one.
Do you have one?
I know someone, yeah. I don't know if she'd come this far out, though. She's located in Brookfield, one of the Brookfields.
Yes, Jared?
Plenty of trainers.
I think there's one in Dudley.
Again, on the trainer, I would, guess it would have to be a pretty knowledgeable trainer with a dog that's having this specific problem. I mean, it wouldn't be like just bringing a puppy to be trained to sit, you stay, don't jump. We're dealing with a dog that's had, aggression issues. So, is there a way we could maybe find a list of trainers that we think would be suitable for the training, or
Sure.
and then offer them the choice?
Well, that's probably
Yeah, we can
something
do
through
that.
Kelly,
Yeah,
you're the expert on that.
They can
We'll
work
leave it up
work
to her.
together on that.
Yeah,
Sounds reasonable, then she can just
right.
bring us up to speed once that's
You
happened.
can give your recommendations, Kelly, and
Yep.
Maybe we could get
the both of you can work together on that.
Sure.
maybe we can get an update at our next meeting.
Yep.
On that.
Any other comments?
I just, like Selectman Vos had said, we were pretty compassionate with, not putting the dog down. Nobody wants to see that happen. I mean, at the same time, we're putting ourselves on the line with allowing the dog to be there. But on your half as well, though, there's a lot at stake for you as far as, homeowners insurance, being sued from somebody who gets bit. There's a lot of liability that it's a big responsibility for yourself, so I guess we're looking in your best interest as well. We're not trying to just punish you or something, saying that you have to do this, this, and this, but, we're trying to look out for you as well as the residents of the town. So, in good faith, we'd hope that everything from this point on, once you comply with everything, will go all right.
Okay. Do we have any other comments? If not, I'm gonna call for the vote on the motion.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries. If there's no further business in this hearing, I will entertain a motion that the hearing be adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you for coming in.
Good luck, Quinn.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is the cable advisory.
Brought some papers, better late than never.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman and board members, since you appointed the committee, they have organized and
Thank you.
Kate El Jadidi, who's handing out these papers, has been made chairman. You know, Peter Epstein, who's our consultant on these matters, is here. A little bit of housekeeping, if I may. You're going to receive from them tonight the work in progress.
Yes.
And it's almost done, except a few things that they need from you, or some opinions from you. But because the existing license expires, and no one need fear that Charter's going to turn it off. We have their word on that.
It expired.
It
Sunday.
expired Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
We have an extension of the cable license renewal license between the town and Charter. It's an agreement for a 60-day
Yes.
extension while we work out the details. That's in your to-be-signed folder. It's an appropriate paper. Say again?
It's in the packet too.
It's in the packet, too.
Right.
I don't know
That
if you
should
need
be
any
signed
questions on
tonight.
that, but if you would approve that, and then that gives us the
Is that what's in
time.
the folder to be signed?
Correct. Can you give a thumbnail, a brief?
Yeah, the 10-year license with Charter that we had drafted in 2003 expired on the 21st, which was Sunday. We had a meeting with Charter yesterday, which was the day after the expiration. We thought that perhaps everything could be worked out, but it became clear that there were several important outstanding issues, and you have a document before you that has 7 bullet points. Those are the outstanding issues that Kate would like to go over with you. The extension document is just a very simple document. It's a 2-page document. It just is an agreement between the Board of Selectmen and Charter to extend the current license on the same terms and conditions for 60 days. I think once we have some feedback from the board tonight, the committee can consider how to approach these issues with Charter, meet with Charter. We can then come to an agreement and finish revising the draft license, which we have. And so that agreement has gone back and forth. It just needs to be revised finally per these 7 issues. At that point, the committee, I believe, will come back to you with a recommendation for you to sign, and that would hopefully be no later than Monday, September 23rd. Because actually, the 23rd is 61 days, but the 60 days, I think, was, I don't know, it was Saturday or Sunday, so I just took the liberty of making it Monday.
Okay. What we would like to do is to, obviously, we haven't had a chance to digest this.
Sure.
You people have met, you have your recommendations. What I'd like to ask you to do this evening is to highlight for us what those recommendations are. And when you finish that, then we will take this under advisement and give us time to
Sure.
digest it, and then we can come back again and finalize it. Before we go into the discussion, I have a question that I'd like to ask, and I'm sure that you, as a consultant, will probably be able to answer this. I have a problem, and it's my problem. I feel that a 10-year contract is far too long. And my opinion is that technology is moving so fast.
Yes.
I mean, we've seen what cell phones have done within the past decade.
Yes.
I mean, they've changed dramatically.
Yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see the cable industry change dramatically.
Right.
There's competition out there right now with the Dish, with Vios, and other things. And who's to say how innovative someone will be within the next 5 years?
Sure.
So I wouldn't want to see us go 10 years and have us behind the curve if something else comes out within the next 5 years. That's my concern.
Sure.
Can we? Is it possible to go to a 5-year contract as opposed to a 10?
Sure. In the Commonwealth, you as the issuing authority cannot grant a renewal license in excess of 10 years. Can you grant something for less? Sure. Can you grant 5 years? Yes, you can. There are two things, however. If you grant a 5-year license, then you understand under federal law, we have to start 3 years prior to expiration. So 2 years would go by, and you'd have to start all over again. That's number one. Number two, and even more compelling, I think, is that the Cable Act, which is the federal act which oversees, it guides what we can do vis-a-vis cable operators, basically prohibits any federal, state, or local agency, including your board, from dictating so-called transmission technology. Now what that really means is we can't tell Charter what technology it has to use. And while the Act, I've never seen a precise definition of transmission technology, I'm quite sure that it means we cannot dictate to them, for example, saying, well, we think that, you not only have to be all digital, but all fiber. We think, like Fios, for example, you have to take the fiber right to the home. We can't dictate that. The FCC's theory on this is that the marketplace will force cable operators to basically keep up with technology. Whether that's the case is hard to say. In Newton, perhaps that's more the case, I'd say, than Oxford, because Newton has 3 land-based cable operators, including Fios. Here, you don't have another land-based competitor. We discussed this yesterday with Tom Cohan, and they have significant competition from satellite providers because their penetration in Oxford, I was a little surprised, I don't know if you were, it's only 61%, meaning that they only get 61% of homes they pass subscribe to cable. And you would think in a community like this, it would be more like 80%. And I think that's because of the competition from DirecTV. So to answer your question, I don't think that you have the authority to mandate specific technological upgrades. And because of that, I think that the 10 years is as reasonable as anything else. Can you do 5 years? Yes. Is it your decision? Yes.
It certainly isn't my intent to have the cable, do something with their technology.
Yeah.
That's not my intent.
Okay.
My intent is to do it for 5 years so that if a competitor does come in,
yes,
and it might encourage competitors to come in. If they know cable has a short-term contract, they're going to want to come in and be viable for us to be able to give them the licensing.
Well, let me respond to that, sir. Under state and federal law, your franchise now, as it has always been, is non-exclusive, which means that tomorrow Fios could come in and apply for a license, and the next day RCN could come in and apply for a license. What you're inferring, sir, is that, and I understand it, is that there is only one franchise that can be given out in Oxford, and that's not true. In fact, what you want to do is you want to get somebody to come in and compete against Charter. You don't want to get rid of Charter, because if you get rid of Charter, let's say you get Comcast. Well, I can tell you, replacing one de facto monopoly with another is not going to accomplish what you want. If what you want is competition, so that these companies drive each other, then you don't want to get rid of Charter. Believe me, you don't want to get rid of these guys. If you can find another company to come in, believe me, we could give them an RFP tomorrow. It would not be intended to take Charter's franchise. It's just another franchise. And I mentioned Newton. I have 24 communities that have 2 or 3 franchises. Dedham has 3. Newton has 3. Needham, Natick. They didn't get rid of one. They all have Comcast, they have Verizon, and they have RCN.
Well, that would be great if we could get additional competitors.
Sure, and there's no reason to stop trying. The problem is the economics, and you may know that about it's maybe 5 years now, Verizon basically stopped franchising. I mean, I think there are about 105 franchises that they were awarded in the Commonwealth. I did about 35, and they stopped because they just, I think they're running out of money.
They ran out of money.
RCN stopped. So the state of competition is unfortunately, it got to, I'm trying to think, Southborough, Southborough has Charter, has Verizon, has a little bit that's Comcast, but I don't know that I have any clients farther west that have Fios. Fios was a particular, sort of beltway phenomenon. Not that it wouldn't do well here. If they looked at your demographics, they would love the demographics of Oxford.
I believe Sutton has it the next time.
Sutton? Okay. They just didn't. But the point is, you don't have to give Charter a lesser term because other companies may be interested. It doesn't matter. If a company is interested, they'll come in. They'll come in.
Thank you for helping clarify that.
Sure.
One other question that I have is, a couple of years ago, when you were in here with, I believe, the
Yes.
cable company was
Yes.
here.
It was
And-
a transfer.
Yeah, and there was some problems financially with the
Yes.
company at the time.
Yes.
And they ended up doing something with the stocks
Yes.
to to enhance their position so that
Yeah.
they could stay in business.
Yes.
How has that worked out since they had the problems financially?
Well,
Are they a solid company again?
Well, they certainly seem to be on more sound footing. When they had those financial problems, I'd have to go back and reread that. As I recall, the courts forced Paul Allen to, I'm not sure totally divest himself, but to substantially divest himself. And as you know, Paul Allen founded Microsoft with Bill Gates. Yeah, it was Microsoft. It was Paul Allen. That's why he has all that money and he has, boats and everything. So I believe part of this financial reorganization was Paul Allen significantly divesting himself of his personal stock. They've reorganized. I have not heard in the last year or two of significant financial problems. Charter seems to be doing okay. I mean, it's not Comcast, doesn't have that kind of clout, but they seem to be doing fine. I don't get any sense that anything that we have put in this draft license cannot be affected by Charter. And as you know, in the license, there are provisions for transfer, number one, if they're going to get engaged in that again. There's state law on transfer. If they're going to do it, they're going to, in most cases, they're going to have to come back to this board for your permission. And some of the finances that we could talk about, they built the system. So they're not going to rebuild the subscriber system as far as I know. As you know, there is a fiber institutional network which is for the use of the town, and when we negotiated the just expired license, the town had paid Charter to build that network for the town. And part of this deal is the second 10 years of that lease, if you will, of that network, because that indefeasible right of use agreement 10 years ago was a 20-year agreement. Even though it was part of that 2003 license, we said to Charter 10 years ago, if the town is paying for this, it's paying for 20 years. It's not paying for 10. It's paying for 20. So you have another 10 years, and there are some issues on your outstanding issue list. The second issue talks about the cost to maintain this network, and that's an outstanding issue.
The board members have any comments before we begin? If not,
I prefer just to let them go through
okay.
it. and-
Yeah.
Go ahead, go through with
I
your
agree.
Okay.
presentation.
Well, before we actually even start going through the bullet points, I did want to thank Ann Mravica and Jean McKay and Howard Merson for being on the committee with us. When we first got the contract, we all looked at it like, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is what we joined up on. The great thing about the 80-page contract is that 80% of it stays the same. 10% of it is really just language that Tom and Peter are doing a great job of working out, and we didn't really bring those points to you because we're pretty confident that you wouldn't have an issue with any of those particular points. The 10% that are actually on this bulletin are things that we kind of wanted to go over with you before we did bring you the final contract, which is why we asked for that 60-day extension. But one of the things preliminary that we did ask for, and I think this goes to Mr. Sadwich, was asking about the 10-year contract. We do believe a 10-year contract might be well suited because with that 10-year contract, we're actually requesting $200,000 in capital funds. Now, in the first 10-year contract, it was $150,000. But at the end of that, if you'll remember, Access Oxford still had money left over, which was able to buy the new technology and kind of keep us up to date. So the idea with the 10-year contracts, that capital fund should be promoting any things that we need to do that they're unwilling to pay for to kind of grow that particular technology on our own. That's where that is coming from. So we're hoping that that should work out pretty well. Now, I did give you a little example of a bill. I'm not going to bore you with the details on how it goes over that, but just as an FYI, I've never looked at my charter bill to find out what was being paid to the state, what was being paid to the town. But it does come into play when we're asking for more money or less money. Right now, it's at 3.5% of the gross annual revenue that is actually charged to the subscriber and given to the town to run your 3 channels. And Access Oxford has been doing very well with their budget. You've never heard them coming to you asking for more money. But now that that infrastructure is doing so well, and you're saying the technology is doing better, and you see how wonderful that 300 celebration played on TV, there's a great opportunity for some growth in these 3 channels. So we would like to not necessarily keep it at 3.5%, certainly keep it at 3.5% this year. The economy is still rebounding, but kind of having in the contract that once a year Access Oxford could come before the board, and if they are growing and need more money, that you would be able to increase that 3.5%, like even by 0.25% each year. By each, I think what was the number that for each 0.5% increase, that would mean an extra $10,000 that would go into the funds for programming, for whatever you needed, not necessarily any equipment, because that's coming out of the capital fund. And also, so $5,000 a year would be great. That would pay for somebody to go to the ball games or, do whatever you need to do to get more things on the ball as far as what's going on.
Saying
The
by a quarter of a point?
Pardon?
By a
Well,
quarter?
I mean, ideally, you could theoretically, again, this is why we're here with you today. If you didn't want to go up a quarter point, we need to put that language in there. Right now, I think that what we decided was to put that it would maintain at 3.5% per year, up to the discretion of the selectmen at an annual review. You could increase that up to 5%. Or decrease it. Tom Cohen is making us put decrease in it too, because as a charter representative, he said.
But right now, it's fixed at 3.5%.
Right now,
It's 3.5% plus fees. The
Right.
3.5% I believe for calendar 2012 was about $140,000.
Yeah. So that's the operating budget that you guys have,
Yes.
that they've been
But,
working on.
we had the language in there that it goes to the town or the Access Corporation.
Yeah,
So the selectmen will retain, the way you and I discussed it,
Yes.
for the board members.
Yes.
That it goes to Access Oxford directly now, but it could come to the town, and then the town could decide to hire Access Oxford. We had this discussion, I'm not proposing anything new, this is a discussion we had months ago. It could go, the town could say, well, what we'll do instead is we'll give the schools a little money to do theirs, we'll give the town a little money to do theirs, and Access Oxford will hire to do the public. So that's the stick, if you will, in the carrot and stick
Right,
relationship.
and that was part of our discussions as well, because it was our understanding, right, that Access
go ahead.
Oxford would be controlling all three channels.
Yes,
So the
that's what
termi-
we've agreed to do.
Right, so the terminology would have to, you know, if you decide, I believe it's just a letter that you write that it would go to Access Oxford, but that would be one thing that would be great to have this performance review once a year, you know what I mean, because it's also a way for you to answer any questions, if you're looking to get that all off of your plate, you know what I mean? Because the idea is that even our team said that if you are interested in keeping us on, because one of our bullet points is that there were some guffaws in the contract that weren't followed, and had somebody caught it, we might have been getting a little bit more money that we didn't, but we're gonna go
There
over
was
that
some
as well.
problems with compliance by
Yeah.
charter that went unnoticed. And certainly, if the issue is, should the selectmen, vote or ask the committee to continue, boy, absolutely, absolutely. This is a great committee, by the way.
Only if those people
And-
stay on, because
and-
I'm definitely
and
the
Kate-
weak link.
Kate is great. She's a great chair, but it's a
Yeah.
great committee. It's a
Yeah.
very good committee.
Oh, Peter.
And I know.
Gosh,
I know.
Gee, oh,
I know.
stop.
They've done a great job, and if they'll continue, absolutely you should.
I mean, if I may
Now I'm
interject,
blushing.
through the chair, I would love to have the committee stay on and keep reviewing this and going through that. That'd be great, but that's a tremendous commitment to you and the rest of the committee, so.
It's definitely more commitment to my committee, because I'm really kind of the weak link that's always shooting off an email and calling Joe, say, "Hey, can you get it up within 48 hours? Because this is when everybody can meet, so
Well, and
be careful what you wish for.
And just, the other thing I'd like to interject to go back to the issue is I still am firmly believing that the money should go to Access. I'm a firm believer they have shown us in the past few months what they can do, and I think they should just handle the money. And a review by this board, I think, is very important every year. See how they're doing. Should be a constant communication, but to me, we're hiring them, or they're doing the three channels. They should handle the three channels. Any of the problems should go to them. I think that just takes the town out of it and makes it a lot easier. That's my personal
And I
opinion,
also
so.
think too, when there's a growth period and people see more things on that they want to watch, and they're folding their laundry, and instead of watching Regis, they're seeing what's on the public access. When they come for their yearly review, you may not get phone calls when you say, let's increase it 0.5%, but boy, look what's going on here, because there's nothing on TV anyway. So
Correct.
there is an opportunity with this yearly review to really generate.
And that's their expertise. That's what I'm saying, is that, I don't know diddly squat about all that, so leave that up to them, and I don't see as the town as being the authority to know what the heck we should increase, decrease, or whatever, or how we make better our presentation on the channels. I think that's them to then come to charter and say, hey, we need an upgrade, because I know I've talked with Tony, and, fiber is a big thing, and getting the cables in, and yada, yada, and there's been a lot of issues like that, so.
Let me just say two quick things. The language in the current draft has the money going to the issuing authority or the Access Corp, comma, as designated by the issuing authority. So all you have to do is just, write to charter saying, until and unless you hear from us otherwise, that 3.5% can go to charter. As far as an annual review, I think more and more communities ask their access corps to come in for a review so that, number one, the community understands what's going on, and number two, especially here where you could get more money, I don't think it's a huge problem. I think the committee could do the initial legwork. You have a budget. You say to them, look, come in. We want to see last year's budget. We want to see this year's budget. We want to see your next year's projected budget. And if you're going to ask for more money, that's fine, but you need to justify it so we can make a recommendation to the selectmen, because the fact is that that is just passed through to subscribers. For better or for worse,
Right.
we lost that fight with the cable industry in Congress 30 years ago. So, as Kate said, in the end, it may not be a problem, but you're doing your job by saying, we want to keep track of what you're doing. And for example, if an Access Corp, and I'm certainly not talking about Access Oxford necessarily, comes in and they say, we need more money, and you say, well, tell me how much money you got. And they say, well, we have $600,000. Well, I'd probably say, well, I don't really think you need more money.
You think?
And there are some access okay. So there are some access corporations that have built up a lot of cash. And this is just one way of the town working with the access corp, because you've got a symbiotic relationship. You should understand completely what they're doing because you are authorizing them to do it for you. They are not a party to this license. You are the sole authority here, and I've talked to the committee and Joe about perhaps setting out some parameters in a separate agreement between the selectmen and the Access Corporation, which is now very standard. You don't have to worry about that now, but after you execute the license, if that's something you're interested in, then we can talk about it, and I would certainly recommend it. And it's no negative reflection on Access Oxford. It then makes it very clear what each party is responsible for doing, so there's less possibility that anybody's going to misunderstand and say, well, I didn't know we were supposed to do that.
And I think it's still the case that Access Oxford, that was one of the three things you had asked for.
Correct.
Over a year ago.
For that for several years.
Yeah. So it's clear.
Yeah. And
So it's clear what they're doing. In the
Sure.
past, for whatever reason, it just wasn't clear.
Yeah.
But,
So we can-
we're getting there.
I think it benefits both parties. I don't think our committee wants to take on,
Yeah.
the mediator role. I mean, I think what we'd like to do is to be actually able just to kind of present the numbers in layman's terms and, see what's out there, get the vibe of the community if they're interested in tacking on an extra, 30 cents on their bill because it's
Well,
become
and to
worthwhile
take the
endeavor.
complaints as well, because there's no reason for the board to get the board members to get a call, at home, hey, my cable's not working. If they come into a central location, and Access Oxford has been serving that role lately as well.
But not to take cable complaints.
Unless we give him Tom's email, that would be lovely.
Yeah,
He'd
I
love
think,
that.
right.
Tom's email, don't worry.
I think the committee should take general complaints, but the Access Corporation shouldn't. That's
No,
not
they get the
their-
complaints about their channels.
Oh, about their
their
channels.
their
I'm
channels,
sorry.
yes.
I'm sorry. Just to go back, what Kate was talking about, for example, Charter has gross revenues of about $4 million. So if you increased by 0.5%, that would be about 20,000. A full percent would be 40. 1.5 would be 60, and that would be the max. That would be the max. You cannot go over 1.5. That would take it to 200,000. And in fact, I don't want to get too complicated here, if you go to the max, you have to start taking the applicable fees off. So you understand, if you get to 4.75, that's
And we
really.
would stop that. Our little committee would be
Yeah.
able to work that number and say, listen, we can't increase it anymore because otherwise.
And understand when
Yeah.
Peter says 1.5%, he means on top of the 3.5 you're already
Yeah,
getting.
an
The
additional.
Right,
legal
you can go to
limit is
max
5%.
That's right.
But
That's
even
the-
at five, when you add in some of the little extra things, it can go over 5 to 5.25, like you're even.
Well,
saying, or
the
5
first
and-
issue on your list is what
Right.
Kate is talking
Yeah,
about. We
exactly.
can explain that.
All right, so we'll probably, and we don't want to keep you here all night, so if you actually go to the first section, the Town of Oxford List of Outstanding Issues, the first one is the gross annual revenues. And this was something that again, we lost out on some money because there was an inclusion in the old contract of a fee on fee. And that just means on your cable bill, if it's $3.50 that you're paying, it's actually an additional tax on the $3.50.
Fee.
Fee, a
That's
fee.
non-tax.
That's right. And stop me anytime I say something wrong.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to
I'm
be, no,
sorry.
no, keep doing it.
Oh,
I don't
I'm
mean-
sorry.
I don't
You
mean-
want me to
yeah,
keep going?
don't make
I'm
me,
sorry.
don't make me say
Second
anything
page?
wrong.
The page
So,
after this?
ideally, in the previous language, and
further
Peter has
down.
kind of looked through the contract and said, if it's not broke, don't
Here it
fix
is.
it. If the wording was set forth the first time, let's keep it as such, even if it doesn't really make much sense to anybody. And Joe had mentioned, well, you could increase what we're asking for from 3.5 to 3.6, and that would probably be the same as an inclusion of the fee on fee. So whether you want to keep the language as a fee on fee. What has happened is they never included the fee on fee in the last contract, so we lost out on about, what did we say, $48,000 over 10 years?
Almost 50.
Almost $50,000 over 10 years, because in the contract, they were supposed to be taking the fee on fee. Now,
Can I explain that?
Can I can
Okay,
explain.
sorry.
It was,
You lost us
the
at
fee on fee is,
It's
it's
for,
it's 3.5% markup, and that goes to local, to PEG access.
Right.
You have a $100 bill. You pay $100 for your service. Not
Cable
include
service.
cable, doesn't include telephone or internet. So you get an additional charge of $3.50, 3.5%. The fee on fee is an additional 10.5 cents, which is 3.5% of $3.50.
right, that's what it is.
So that works out to $3.60. So I said to
Right.
them yesterday, why do this compounding interest thing? Just say it's 3.6%. It's supposed to be.
Well, you could do either.
but Tom is sticking it to us in other ways, so this
Yeah,
might be
I mean, the
something
fact
we
is,
need
on
to-
$4 million, 3.5% comes to $140,000. And then, as Joe said, you'd take another 3.5% of the 140, and you'd get 4,900. So it's about $50,000. That was a decision that came down from the FCC in a Baltimore challenge 20 years ago. Whether it makes sense or not, the FCC said, well, you know, the 3.5% is revenue to the operator. So therefore, because you have to pay 3.5% on revenue, you have to pay 3.5% on that. Well, it may be a little
But
nonsensical.
that could go on forever.
But, well,
Now you've
could,
got
right.
another 10 cents of revenue,
Well,
so you owe me
no,
another
'cause
0.35
you're right, but the
cents.
FCC didn't say it could go on forever. The FCC said once. But notwithstanding that, the issue is twofold. Charter does not want inclusion of that fee-on-fee component in the definition, the new license. That's number one. And number two, the issue is, when we said, did you pay it for the past 10 years? He said, I don't know. I said, go check. He came back and said, we never paid it. Never paid it.
Never collected it.
Never collected it, never paid it. Is it lost? No. You can, because that part of renewal is you got to comply. But as Kate indicated, Mr. Cohan said, well, if you force us to pay, we'll simply pass that through to subscribers. Well, it's not clear that they can so easily and seemingly deftly do that. And what I would suggest is that you allow the committee and myself to discuss this with Charter and work something out that is fair and is not going to penalize subscribers. I don't think you have to decide tonight. We wanted to alert you to this is a problem. This is, I said to Tom, I mean, it's in black and white. Tom knows what fee on fee is. Believe me, he knows what fee on fee is. So, I mean,
And it would be good, because everybody's always complaining about their charter bill, if we could get them to pay some of that back.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of paying it back. It just feels good.
and maybe there's some
And
way.
maybe you can't, maybe you can't,
Yeah.
you know.
To work that out, but as
But
I
it
said,
did-
the
yeah.
committee will come back with a recommendation on both those issues under number 1.
Right, and also, like, that idea, if you do not want us, if you just want to lose that fee-on-fee revenues for the past 10 years, because it's not worth the aggravation, not that we would take it too far until we sign the contract, you could let us know, and we'll skip by that and move on to the next thing, which happens to be your iNet, which is your internet that goes around.
No, your institutional network.
Oh, your institutional network.
It's a closed-circuit fiber.
Close
I'm
circuit
sorry.
fiber. No, keep doing that.
I'm sorry, it's
I
not
don't
the
want to give them the wrong
internet.
information.
That's
We
how
brought the brains
that's
with
how
us.
all the buildings, the outlying offices and departments can access our servers
Right.
here at the town hall.
Right.
It's a fiber that we paid for, the town paid for it.
You bet.
I remember that because I was here when they were spending $200,000.
You bet.
Tom Spain was the charter guy, and he said, why do you need 12 fibers? And, but we got it, which is
Right.
a good thing, because now we can
Right.
talk to each other.
Yeah, and there may be other things that the town can do with that, because it's a lot of fiber. And as I understand, you're using a very small fraction of that fiber. But, Kate will tell you what the immediate issue is.
Right, and in the contract that you guys don't have in front of you, and I don't blame you for not reading the 80 pages, what the contract had stated in the last time was that the licensee shall maintain the iNet for the entire term of the renewal license without costs and/or charges to the issuing authority, its designees, the school department, town departments, iNet users, and in shall no manner pass through or line item any such routine iNet maintenance cost to Oxford subscribers. The issuing authority and the licensee agree that in the event that there are extraordinary circumstances that necessitate non-routine repairs to the iNet, the town and the licensee will evenly split the cost for such repairs between them without pass-through to Oxford subscribers. Now, Tom wants that deleted, and we feel that we don't call, just on a dime to have a truck come out, right? But that's not really subject for negotiation. We wanted that included and kept, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's something that if you decide that you don't care about pressing it, we haven't, the idea that Tom is saying, well, you really don't need it anymore. You guys can take care of that yourself. But I said, well, if we haven't used it in 10 years, why can't we keep it? So, right? Is that the
Yeah,
the
I mean,
idea?
when we talked about it yesterday, he said, well, you understand, this fiber is passive. It's just a conduit. What makes it work is the peripherals that the town owns and attaches. And Tom said, well, if we have to come and fix those, we're going to charge you. I said, that's not the issue. The issue is you maintaining and repairing the fiber, not the town's peripherals. The town will maintain its peripherals.
Right.
So if a car knocks down a pole, let's say, and the fiber comes down and splits, well, that's Charter's responsibility to repair that. It's Charter's responsibility to maintain that fiber, even though maintaining fiber is nothing, because there's nothing attached to it. It doesn't have amps. It's not like coax. So the main issue is we said you have to continue to maintain and repair that fiber for the next 10 years, and you can't charge anybody for it.
Yeah.
And then Tom started talking about, charging the town for fixing your peripherals. Well, I don't even think that ever came up.
He does that now.
Well,
That's why Access Oxford paid to upgrade the connections.
No,
yeah,
but
But you
that's
pay for
different,
it,
Joe.
yeah.
He doesn't come, they don't come, let's say one of your modems goes down, or something else you've got, it's your modem. As far as I know,
No, we do that, that's our.
Charter, well, that's what Tom was talking about, and I said, well, I don't think the town has ever asked you to fix its peripherals. I assume when the town buys this hardware and/or software, you buy it and you buy a maintenance contract. So if something goes wrong, you call the vendor and say, well, you come and get it. You're not calling. So in the first instance, it's saying you can't charge us to maintain and repair the fiber infrastructure itself. That's the issue. And then there's a second issue.
And then the second issue was the fact that they did not, is this the one right here? Let me see.
Yes, it's, I think, N. No, it's on the next page. No, I don't think you have it. The issue is that the current license and the agreement between the parties says that the town can use this network for anything it wants to, and it can also provide services to and for not-for-profit institutions to use the iNet as well. That's in the current license. That was something Charter wanted removed. I said, why? He said, well, we provide those services. I said, well, I don't even know if the town does it, meaning that, let's say you went to a daycare facility and said, do you need somehow to communicate, we'll let you use the iNet. I don't even know if you do that. I said, well, if you compete, well, you're competing against nonprofits. And the whole point of this language was the town wanted to give an advantage to nonprofits of paying less. And if that's, Charter has a business division, fine, go out to for-profit institutions. Our recommendation, and we'll talk to Tom more, was that the language stays the same. It's a 20-year contract. It's a 20-year contract. That provision didn't say after 10 years we'll revisit this. The only part that said we'd revisit it was, I believe, in the about maintaining and repairing. We've asked Charter. We've said, all right, you think the town should pay for that. How much does it cost? He didn't know. I said, would you find out? He said, okay. Yesterday he came. I said, how much does it cost? He said, I don't know. I don't know. So I can't imagine that it's too much, because he would know. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful of Tom. He's a good guy. He does a good job.
He's doing his job.
He's doing a good job for Charter, and he's a friend of mine. But if it's costing them that much, then I think right away the first thing you'd say is, here's what it costs us.
And that's why we want to take it out.
So,
But
no,
there's
I
no
don't
reason
think
to
we
take
should
it out,
take it out.
except that in the future, if there is an issue that arises, and like the idea that you could decide that you wanted to give your iNet to any nonprofit organization that you want, even though you haven't done so, I think that's fine. You should be able to do that. There probably are situations coming up. You could even say that Oxford 300. What if they had an office and they needed to do some work or do whatever? But the fact of the matter is, it wouldn't be huge, because somebody would have to come before you, and it would be such an enduring process that they'd probably rather pay Charter to get the business contract anyway. But in the case that you felt strongly enough that this particular nonprofit needed access to it, why not?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a sticking point for his. So again, if it's important to you, let us know. If it's not so important, because you think we're never going to do that anyway.
What's the limit of the benefit? It's only extends to the limit of the iNet, which is between the principal town buildings.
Yeah, and it's a good point, because
Police,
you don't
fire,
even know.
DPW, library, town hall.
Yeah, that a daycare
Barton Street, I
center
think, is
or
connected.
something else could even get connected. Now, maybe
Right.
they could use it in other ways, but Joe's right. This is a finite closed-circuit network.
Right.
And, you're not going to say the daycare center, well, we want you to use it, we'll pay Charter $40,000 to extend to, no, you're not going to do
No,
that.
we don't.
So
Right.
I don't even know how you'd use this for this. But
Right.
when we did it, we tried to be as inclusive as possible. And frankly, you know, the town should be thinking between us beyond this next 10 years, because this is fiber. I mean, it's always going to have a lot of capacity. So, you know, you don't have to worry about it now, but that's something that, as you go forward, the committee could think about, and I know that you have an IT person who we met with.
I'll talk with them as well.
Yeah.
Right, if it's important,
And
great,
there
if
are
it's
a
not
couple of-
important, that's fine.
There are a couple of people still here who were here 10 years ago.
Yeah,
And remember when the INET was built.
Right.
yeah.
And if you could
thought
even
it was
think
20
amongst
years ago.
yourself, if there would be
10
any
years
way,
ago, that's right.
even in the infrastructure of town hall, that you think in the future there would be, say, a daycare. You know, you got a lot of employees, you have a daycare, you know, would you be able to wire them up or whatever? If it's never gonna happen, then that's fine, we can move on to something else.
The
that's
thing
more
is, we
important.
have a community center, and that fiber is in that building.
Right.
So, I mean, we have the availability of daycares or anyone else, nonprofits, to come in and use that building, a
Yeah.
portion of that
Okay,
building.
that's
Yeah, well,
an
then-
example.
then-
So
then-
it is
That's
an
an
advantage.
example.
So we would probably, you know, think about maybe pushing that point a little bit more as a, either not necessarily deal breaker, but something that, you know, we feel strongly about. Now, the next items are actually pretty easy. It's just the fact that our committee really had no idea what a CAD/CAM strand map was, or even if that's something the town needs or requires. The same way of, oh yeah, and the idea that charter showing the location of its pedestals on strand maps, which is currently required, which again, too, when we asked Tom about this, he doesn't think that that was even taken care of in the first contract, which again is another issue in a breach of contract kind of thing that, you know, there are fines for, that are on the paper, that if you don't comply with the contract, you write a contract. I know that it's tough because we're looking at it 10 years later, but the fact of the matter is, when you sign a contract, both parties are assuming the other person is doing everything that's in it.
The committee will come back. Pedestals, as you know, they're containment things. You know, your traffic lights are in these pedestals on the side of the road. And when we put this in before, the thinking, or what I was told by the town manager then, I think it was Dennis still, was that the town wanted to know where their pedestals were on the right-of-way, just because it's your right-of-way. So that was number one. They wanted to know what is on the right-of-way. And number two, as Kate was saying, was your number four, was that we also negotiated that they would give you these strand maps, which are just showing you where their infrastructure is, in CAD/CAM format. That was the issue. And I think you said, or were starting to say, that Tom also said, well, we've never done that either, you know, so we were right. Kate's right, haven't done that.
Look at that breach of contract.
haven't
Money,
done-
money, money, money.
Haven't done that either. So those two are related, but they are separate issues.
It's all above ground other than the pedestals, right?
Yeah, they've got some underground plant. Their pedestals tend never to be, they have underground pedestals. They very rarely use them because they tend to get flooded. So their pedestals tend to be above ground. They can have a pedestal on a pole. They can have
What
pedestal
about the
on pole.
boxes? Don't they have boxes on
Yeah.
some of the poles for
Yeah, they have
amplification?
boxes. Yeah. But that's then between the pole owner and Comcast. If they've got ground level pedestals,
That's what
those
the-
pedestals are on your right of way. It is then your business, and the pedestal language says that they cannot put a pedestal on the right of way without a permit. Now, we didn't ask him if they got permits. We should go back and say, well, by the way, when you just put a pedestal on public property, do you just go out and put it? You're supposed to get a permit.
And those permits are gonna be quite expensive, too.
Yeah.
We'll charge them like they charge us.
I think I could give you a figure right now for what the first pedestal is
I
gonna
bet.
cost. I've got an exact figure
Didn't
for you.
Greater Media, wasn't Greater Media the predecessor
Yes.
of Charter?
Yes.
Didn't they build all this? Did they build this or did Charter?
Greater Media in the 91 contract, it was with Greater Oxford Cablevision Inc., yes. And then the 2003 was Charter, so at some point Charter bought Greater Media. That's right. Correct. So when I did this, it was Greater Media in 91.
And to throw Tom a bone, quite frankly, if you needed anything, what we were saying is maybe we need them because maybe the town engineer needs them, maybe the DPW needs them, maybe we just want to keep them because we want to keep them. But the fact of the matter is, as Joe said, if you called, they would tell you whatever
tell
you
you
needed
what
to
it
know
is.
because they wouldn't want you to disrupt the network of anybody else by moving a mountain on top of whatever
They
they've
should
got
be
going
in
on.
dig safe. I would guess
Yeah, I think
they mark dig
they are.
safe.
Yeah.
They must do dig safe.
Right, okay. And then the next section regarding a senior citizen's discount. As anybody knows, it's very hard to get a discount from Charter. So the idea that not only is the senior citizen's discount something that you have to actually prove at an income level, so it affects very few people, there are still 10 subscribers in Oxford that are grandfathered where they get a 20% discount on their
Correct.
cable. Tom's position was, well, if you can't do it for all, you shouldn't do it for that 10, and we should just completely get out of that. And I said, I think most of the town people would say if 10 people can get 20%, have at it, like
Yeah.
it's something that's there. So Tom seemed to have a little bit of a problem with that, but if that's something that you guys don't mind, we'd like to try to push that point and say, it's already on
Yeah,
their
but
bill.
isn't that just on, like 5 or 6
Absolute-
channels?
Absolutely.
No,
Oh,
actually,
There-
the
it's
limited.
grandfather discount is from the 91, and it said the licensee shall offer discounts on basic and its next most popular tier.
So
So
the
I think
expanded-
those 10 people are getting 20% off whatever the, is it?
expand- Probably
the-
most people have like the expanded.
But
expanded tier.
everyone else is only getting it on a
That's
minimal
correct.
amount of
Absol-
channels.
Absolutely.
That's
It's kind of,
correct.
I
And
mean,
it's
it's symbolic.
10%.
I mean, it's symbolic, and it's the idea that they're willing to give you 10%.
It's
Just
10 people.
The idea that, well, for those people, it's 20%, but even for anybody else, it's really just Charter saying, well, we want you to be able to at least see some channels, so you have to give it. All right.
Like,
This is something that's irked me with Charter forever, and this discount on a basic tier only.
Yeah.
We've tried,
You know what?
tried.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm not gonna, for instance, you go to Home Depot, and I'm not plugging Home Depot, but their discount is 10% up to $2,500. It's $250. I mean, and if you get $200 worth of cable service a month, that's $2,500. And these people, and they're buying all the cable from Charter. They're not going to Lowe's. They're not going to Aubuchon's. They're buying. I just find it ridiculous that they cannot get the senior discount on everything.
You should have seen Howard Merson's reaction to that, because he really fought for that. He says, I'm a veteran, I'm a senior, you're telling me that I can only
And
get
what
a
is their, what is their position? What is their logic? They just say, you know what?
Their logic is we
this
don't
what we're
have
giving
to.
you?
We don't have to, and we're not.
Well, you know what? That's something that we take in consideration when we decide whether we're gonna give them the 5 or the 10. Because if they gotta do this again in another 5 years, it's gonna cost them money. They're gonna have to hire lawyers.
But something to.
This is something that really needs to be fought for. And I think we need to look at the length of the contract as a bargaining chip, because if they don't wanna come to the table on this, then maybe, maybe the board takes a vote and says, hey, let's do it, let's go for
Well,
5 years
Pe-
and.
Peter can certainly try to shake some trees on that when we're talking to him and kind of say, well,
I just think it's lousy. I really do. To me, it's annoying, it's cavalier, they're like, here it is, this is what we're gonna do for you. There's no give and take on this
Well, yeah,
whatsoever.
and-
I mean, what are you looking at for basic service? $20? What's basic? $20?
I-
20 bucks.
Is
20
it?
bucks.
I don't know what it is.
16.
Oh, we're giving you $1.60.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly, so, yeah.
I mean,
so
that's
it
something that
affect-
needs to be-
It affects rarely anybody.
Why don't we, because,
It needs to be,
I've got some ideas that we could talk about.
Okay.
That perhaps let us go back and, I can talk to the committee and maybe we can make some suggestions, because we've discussed some things tonight, but I'd rather not discuss it
Get into any
in
particulars, I
public
understand.
session at this point.
Well, I'd like to say
Yes, go
something
ahead.
about that, too. My wife's from a third world country. I was down there a few times.
I'm sorry, where, sir?
From a third world country.
Okay, yes.
I feel that the seniors are the ones who made this country the way it is.
Yes.
So So I feel they should get a 20% or a 10% discount. Also our veterans, because one's for them, and we wouldn't have the luxuries we have now. I'm a veteran myself.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, anytime we go to Home Depot, you get 10% discount, automatically. So I think that they should do a military and also a senior discount.
Okay,
Try to push it.
all right.
We'll try to bust them up a little. Which may help with the next section, which is regarding a performance bond. So I would imagine that we'll probably not allow them to have a $10,000 bond, but the performance bond is currently at $50,000.
Correct.
Charter said that that was due to building the entire network. They don't really feel that that's necessary now, that they would like that reduced to 10,000. Do you want to split the difference? I mean, like Peter said, it's very hard to collect on a bond anyway, but it's a.
What are they performing that you
Well,
want to secure?
Having a bond is a statutory requirement. The state requires it. State does not specify how much the bond should be. And for example, if Charter did something and destroyed or harmed a public way, and you had to repair that, and you didn't then, and you said to Charter you have to pay and they didn't, well, you could go after the bond. The bond is replenishable. I don't see any reason why, frankly, it shouldn't stay at 50,000. They wanted at 10. So again, I think that's something if you would let the committee sort of look at and negotiate. I just, what they want is they just want to pay a lower premium.
Well, it gives you a bargaining chip for the senior discount, which I agree with the previous two selectmen that
Yeah.
all seniors, I don't care what the heck they're paying, I don't care if they're getting the highest, I don't know what it is, I have no clue about charter. Let's say it's $70 a month they're paying, so they get $7 off. What is the big deal? To a senior, that's a big deal. I can't imagine many seniors paying that kind of money for cable anyway, but to me, it's such a small percentage, so that's a great idea. Go at it, and it's a bargaining chip as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. And then last, we can let you go home, is the liquidated damages. And the liquidated damages are, what, 1.2? Let me see if I can find it. This was mostly a concern about, again, the liquidated damages when we first did the contract. The failure to comply were high fines. And they said that was necessary because of all the work that they were doing and blah, blah, blah. Well, he says there's no history of a problem, so why can't all that language be reduced sums of money for?
And that was, the last contract they were required to build our institutional network.
Right.
So
Right.
right now, we're not expecting them to
Right,
perform
right.
anything but to continue.
Well, yeah, liquidated
broadcasting.
damages, as you know, they're instances that it would be difficult for the parties to decide how the town is damaged. In other words, if you went in and said, well, the INET, this institutional network, was down for a month, how is the town harmed? Well, you could show how it's harmed, but a liquidated damage, what you're doing is in advance, you're simply saying it's kind of difficult to know. So we're just going to assign, we're going to agree in advance what we think the per diem damage is going to be. And for the INET going down in the current license, I believe it's $500 a day. Charter doesn't like liquidated damages. Mr. Cohan gave us some alternate language with per diems that are lower. And again, what I would recommend is if the selectmen would let the committee sort of put that in the mix and negotiate something that is reasonable and fair, and then come back to you with a total recommendation for your review and approval.
Let me talk to my IT people as well.
Yeah.
And see what, because as Selectman Sad said early on, with the technological changes we've experienced, I don't know how big a deal it is if the INET is down. It may be more than $500 a day
Yeah.
cost.
Well, certainly the iNet, depending if you have, do you have your telephone system on it?
No.
Okay. So depending on what you're doing, I think it would be interesting to get some feedback, sure, from you on that.
Good.
Yes.
That was your last item, right? You
That was
guys?
it,
Yeah.
so we're
Okay.
we're done,
Just a-
sorry.
Just one question.
You gotta sign the extension.
The capital fund that's requested, the $200,000, is that going to be paid out over the length of the contract, or is that going to be an upfront payment to?
100,000 of that is up front, and then the remaining 100,000 is broken up annually, so it would be 10,000 a year.
And that'd be money that will be check written to the town of Oxford, and in turn we would turn it over to.
Yeah, I think the language is similar, that it would go to the issuing authority or its designee, so that you can decide, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable for Access Oxford to come and, part of this annual thing to talk about, what it's doing and what it needs. The latest draft said the licensee would provide funding in the amount of $200,000 to the issuing authority, its designee, and/or the Access Corp, as directed by the issuing authority to the licensee in writing. So in other words, it comes in, if you want that simply to go right to Access Oxford or another designee, all you have to do is write to Charter. Joe can send an email.
I don't think it's a bad idea, and certainly it's not with the intent of keeping that money from Access Oxford, because
That's
it's
right.
because it's
That's
going to end up there. But at least if they come in on a yearly basis, we say, we may have some ideas as to where the quality needs to be improved. The public may want to come in if we have a hearing and say, how about it? And then Access Oxford can come in and say, this is where we think it should be spent, just so there's a, that communication
And I
that
do
would kind
believe
of trigger a.
I do believe that's already in their budget. So when you guys meet with them, they would actually even, at any time, probably be able to give you the idea of what their needs and wish lists and different stuff like that is.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think
And,
they already have that information for
Sure.
next year.
It's
moving
designed
forward.
to make communication easier, more regular, and more focused.
Excellent. And, you'd spoken earlier, you'd said, we don't want to show all our cards, so to speak, on public television.
No, I wouldn't.
But this board is going to have to meet on this again, and based upon the information that comes back to us, should we not meet in executive session so we can, all the cards on table? What,
Can we?
Well, yes.
why can't we?
A negotiation of a contract?
Well, I
it's
think you
under the
should
open
talk
meeting
to
law.
your town council about that,
Oh, well.
but
Yeah.
I don't,
I'll ask him.
yeah.
I think
Well,
we
I mean,
can.
certainly we would come back, we would,
Yeah.
in public, we would disclose what
Yeah.
we had decided upon, but
Exactly.
if I can't talk frankly with you because I'm on TV, then frankly, what good is this meeting? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I need to be able to put all the cards on the table.
I
and-
agree with you.
It's quite
So-
clear in the open meeting law that we can go into executive session for the purpose of discussing or negotiating a contract.
Right, and this is a
Yeah.
contract.
You need to discuss that with town council. I'll talk to Joe about that.
Yeah, and again, that's why we actually came to you just for the 60 days. And again, in 60 days, if you're not comfortable, you just make it another 60 days. That's not really any
Right,
big deal.
right.
The idea that there were some of these issues that we probably could use a little input on as far as you
I
guys
just
using
feel-
the systems and knowing the
Just-
community.
But just so we can, if there's certain things I can't talk to you about because it's
No.
on TV, then
But I
then
think,
why are we why have these meetings? We need to
Right.
put all the cards
I
on the
agree.
table.
I think we can go into executive session, but we'll check it out with town
Yeah,
council.
I would just double
Yeah,
check it.
and on top of that, I mean, we've met tonight, and I think that, Peter's been involved in this for many, many years, and he knows exactly what he's doing here. So I feel confident that he has picked up on certain things that this board has said this evening
Yes.
to use in his further discussions with the committee and with Charter.
Yes, I've
If
heard everything
I'm
you've
not
said.
misreading
No,
You.
Oh, and Peter's aware of everything that's gone on the, before on the ascertainment
yes,
hearings that started. This has been going on for 3 years.
yeah.
Right.
You know, we've had hearings, 2 formal hearings on
Two
this. Yeah.
ascertainment hearings, yes,
And he has all that information, the committee has that as well.
yes. So I think that we know, and I can meet with the committee and talk to Joe, and the committee can talk to Joe. And we, you know, if possible, we should try to get this done within that 60 days. You know, I think we can, as I said, once.
Mull over any ideas that you
Yeah.
have or what is important to
No,
you
I-
on those
I did
those
pass
points.
down the document for signature,
Right,
but we're going to have to officially take a vote for the extension, so I would entertain a motion to do so, to sign the agreement for a 60-day extension.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
great,
So,
We're done, right?
yeah.
All right.
We're done.
Been
Once
real.
that's signed, if, Joe, if you could just send that
Scan it and
to,
send it to you.
or just, you could just send the
Tom's already
originals
approved it. I'll,
to Tom, because Charter then has to sign
I
the
understand.
2, and then they'll return 1 to you.
Okay.
So
And
I
then
think
we'll
you're all
probably-
set.
Then I'll probably get together with my team. It takes us a couple of weeks to get a meeting together. Poor Howard, with his military thing, gets really annoyed when I'm not giving him a lot of time to figure it out, because we should be meeting at the same time every month, but that doesn't really work out. So we'll probably plan another meeting within a month, so like in 2 weeks, that should be enough time for you guys to digest anything you need to digest and.
Well,
Yeah, let me
Get
know
back
and
to
I'll get
Joe.
it to Kate and
There
Peter.
again, we need to have another discussion.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Right.
So there's Tom guys in the military?
No,
No, no, no.
Howard.
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 Oh, Howard.
Howard on the
what-
committee.
Howard on our committee is a veteran.
He's a veteran, he's not a
We'll come and
veteran's
conquer, get
agent,
it
is he?
done.
Exactly. What?
He's not my veteran's agent, but I know he's active in the Army, something. I'm
Yeah, I
sure.
don't-
He's active in quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so he has his hands in a lot of different things, but yeah, he's on the
Thank you,
committee, we'll be
Katie.
keeping him. Thanks.
Okay.
So I guess we're all set. Thank you very
All
much
right.
for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Gentlemen.
See you now.
Thanks, Ann. Thanks, Gene. Thank you.
All right.
Good job.
I think if Casey passes on.
Managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the manager's report for July 23. We have meeting minutes. Request the board vote to approve the meeting minutes of May 14th, 2013. All previous members were present. Selectman Mahoden, Selectman Berthium were not members at the time. Pleasure of the board.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain?
Abstain.
Yes, 3 in the affirmative, 2 abstentions. Motion carries.
And I request that the board vote to approve the meeting minutes of June 18, 2013. All present selectmen were present, except Selectman Vos. Pleasure of the board.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Discussion. There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 4 in the affirmative, 1 abstention. Motion carries.
Thank you. Massachusetts Automated Civil Service, that's MA capital C, capital S, Liaison for the town of Oxford. Request the board vote to allow Chairman Sad to sign a letter to Civil Service designating Ms. Karen Crandall, your administrative assistant to the Board of Selectmen, as the MACS Human Resources Liaison for the town of Oxford. Pleasure of the board.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and second. Discussion. I have some discussion. I just want to bring to the general public's attention that this is additional work that we have to do in our office that has traditionally been the job of civil service. And the state has continually given us additional duties to do, and they're not giving us anything for it. So it's just putting a burden on the community. I know we have no choice, we have to do it. This is an editorial note. I just don't think it's fair. It's just not fair for us to do the state's work, and they're still getting a paycheck. Okay? And we're not increasing your pay, because we're making you the human resource person for civil service. So it doesn't make sense to me,
Why did it come down?
but it makes sense to the state, so we have no choice.
Well,
Why did it come down? I mean, you said the state used to do it.
Yeah.
Then they just, why did they make the change?
'Cause they
Saves them money.
Saves them money on their budget. They don't care about our budget.
When did they make the change?
They just made it. They just voted it. The legislature just voted it, so we have to do it.
Tax increase and.
It's just a mandate that we have to adhere to, and it's unfortunate.
I love it.
Well, any other discussion or
Less aid for the town and more work.
Whenever they give us more work, I always editorialize, because I think
Yeah.
people have a right to know
Yeah.
that we're picking up the burden here. Okay? Call for the vote?
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
My third item was extension of the cable television renewal license, which you've already done. Oh, October special town meeting, the town clerk, Ms. Lori Kelly, has recommended, and therefore I request the board vote to set the October special town meeting for Wednesday, October 9th, 2013, at 7 PM at the high school. Pleasure of the board.
I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
And I probably should have added, although it's up to you to set the date, that both the moderator and the assistant moderator would be available for the 9th. They weren't,
They weren't available.
the moderator wasn't available
Yeah,
for
the
the
last
annual,
one, yeah.
for the annual town meeting. Now, having set the date, the board should also set the date for opening and closing dates of the warrant. The warrant can be opened immediately by, under our charter, but it has to close 36 days before the town meeting. And that's the same that we did in May. Therefore, the town clerk has recommended that the board vote to set the closing date for Tuesday, September 3rd, that's the day after Labor Day, at 4:30 PM. Pleasure of the board.
Entertain a motion.
So I'll make the motion that we open the warrant immediately and set the closing date for September 3rd at 4:30.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Being none, call for the vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, 5 in the affirmative, motion carries.
And there is a final. Oh, it's an update report. Several folks have, many of us have questioned what's going on with Route 395, the repaving. We have this from, update from CMRPC, our regional planning agency. The project is on schedule, whatever that means. It's supposed to be completed by August 18th, 2013. The paving and bridge decks are 100% completed, and signage has been installed. The only thing remaining is the grinding and line painting, as well as some punch list items. Oh, that's little detail things they have to fix. There still may be some traffic delays related to the closure on the ramps. That's when they grind and paint, do painting work. They will not close more than 2 ramps on the project at a time while the work is being done. And they're considering conducting the work on the ramps at night to mitigate the traffic impacts, but that decision has yet to be made. That ends my report for July 23rd.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Thank you.
Selectmen's requests,
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Bose.
You know what? I will editorialize. You know, what was it? Couple weeks back, the legislature had voted to increase the gasoline tax once again. You know, come election time, they're always talking about how they're advocates for the middle class. You know, I want to take care of the middle class, the middle class. Every opportunity this legislature has to raise our taxes, they do. What are they, 8 cents a gallon? I don't know what that, and it's not only hurting lower income, middle class, upper income, but businesses in the state, and you know, I just hope, luckily for us, none of our legislators voted the increase, which is a good thing. But, you know, people, look out for the people you vote for, because, you know, every time they get elected, they're advocates for you. But every chance they have to increase your taxes, they do what? They put $1 on a pack of cigarettes. Now, I don't smoke, but I don't, you know, I don't villainize it. If people want to smoke cigarettes, they can, you know, the same way people want to drink beer, people want to do all sorts of things that are not good for themselves. It doesn't matter to me. But to throw another $1 on top of cigarettes, all it's doing is driving business out of state. People going up to New Hampshire, they're buying their booze, they're buying their tobacco, they're going to other states now to buy the gasoline. But they said, don't worry, we'll never vote another gas increase in, because it's going to become automatic now. As your gas goes up, so will your gas tax. So, you know, they're not going to vote any more of a gas tax in for you, but that's my rant. That's it.
Mr. Berthew?
I have nothing tonight.
Okay, Jared?
Just quickly, somebody had brought forth to me the proposal of making on the center of town at the intersection right on red. It's currently, there's no right on red, and I didn't know if that was a town issue or a state issue, being Route 12, a state road.
Town issue.
It's town issue.
But
Now, is that
we did the project because the right on red, when you have a red light, the other direction has the crosswalk. If you have right on red, there's a likelihood of somebody being in the crosswalk or prohibiting that. That was one of the things, I think that was the main reason, because of the crosswalks.
Okay, because I didn't know if there was anything we could do to try to create that, because it would relieve some of the traffic during the 5 o'clock, you know, or early when everyone was trying to go home from work. The backup down Sutton Ave, as well as down Route 12 going south, it does back up quite a bit.
On Sutton Ave, the backup is restricted because there's only 2 lanes. There's through and right and an exclusive left. So the exclusive left that's going south onto Main, gets an arrow. When we did this project back in the early 90s, we tried to keep the businesses viable with their on-street parking. So the parking in front of that, what I call the Greek Revival Building, which happens to be owned by 3 Greeks, that's just a coincidence, is in the roadway. We could have had a 3rd lane, but then there'd be no parking. We'd put that place out of business, and that's not our purpose.
Right.
So we came to a compromise in getting approval of the project, and that's why it's like that.
Yeah, this issue has come up many, many times. I don't think that the safety officer would recommend it. I believe they've looked at it, Joe.
Yes, they have.
And they were opposed to it for good reason. The businesses weren't in favor of it at the time. And certainly the pedestrians had an issue with it. People that crossed that intersection with cars, okay, if you tried crossing that intersection now, it's like taking your life in your hands, because it's really dangerous. You know, and you gotta wait, you push the button and you wait and you wait. Which light is gonna go first?
Yeah.
And then you get halfway across, and then all of a sudden the light changes. I'll tell you, we've had a lot of issues with the lighting at that intersection, even to the point where we've regulated the timing so that the lights work differently during peak times. There's a longer gap
Right.
for the traffic to move through
Yeah.
in the heavy.
Times and days,
Yeah,
because on the
and days.
weekend, there's more north-south than east-west.
There was an engineering study that was done on a traffic study, and that was recommended by the engineers,
Yeah.
the way that it's set up now.
You know, and there
We've
was,
tried a number of different,
and another thing that came up, I just recall, was Park Street.
yeah,
If you had right turn on northbound Main Street,
Yeah.
that means that there's always traffic heading out, and people on Park Street couldn't get out.
yeah, and people coming out of the donut shop couldn't get out. because cars would
It's,
keep,
Just keep coming.
it'd just
right.
keep going because they got the right-hand turn.
Yeah.
so there is a reason for it,
Okay.
but you're the new guy, they're gonna ask you.
Yeah, they've already asked us.
No, I mean, when it was brought to me, I agreed because, traffic does back up, especially,
does.
well, on Route 12, on the south side, there's 3 lanes, coming that way, so I didn't know if being able to allow that, right on red there, but.
And we've all got caught in that traffic, I'll tell you.
Tell them to go south and go down.
Go to exit 3, there's a nice new light there.
Anything else, Jared?
No, that's it, thank you.
Okay. I have just a couple of things. I had a request from residents in the Dodge Court area, coming out of Dodge Court. The visibility for cars pulling out onto Old Webster Road
Okay.
is really tough because of the growth of the grass and shrubbery along the roadside. Last year, the highway department did clean it up, and it
Grew back.
grew, of course it grew back, but it was a big help
I will do it again.
because there's a curve there. coming
Yeah,
up
the
over-
curve goes the wrong way.
Yeah,
The road blends to the left when you want to take a right.
right. So if that could be cleaned up, they would certainly appreciate it.
Yeah.
The other thing I have is, you've all had a copy of the manager's employment contract, and I just wanted to inform the board that I hadn't heard from you, so I'm assuming that it is okay for me to sign that contract. Is that correct?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion? There being none, I'll call for the vote.
Yes.
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 5 in the affirmative, motion carried. I'll sign the contract and give it to the manager for his signature, and from there, it will go to town council for,
And
And the town clerk.
town accountant.
No, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
will be a point in time where we disclose the terms of the contract to the general public? or-
after it
Yeah.
is
Okay.
signed. I believe it's a public document.
Okay, excellent.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So hopefully, the town clerk will get her signature on it probably tomorrow, then it'll be shipped to town council. After the manager signs it, we'll get back a completely executed document. And at that point, it's a public document. Okay. That's all I have.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, call for the vote?
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our adjourned.
Well, I don't